But there's a lot of folks coming into town, like families coming in for soccer tournaments or baseball, or there's lots of sports things happening around Richmond.
Right.
So there's definitely a need for those short-term rentals.
What's your thoughts on the Richmond market?
You know, it's not a vacation town, but there's still a need for short-term and mid-term rentals, which is like a whole other conversation. I actually went to this thing called the I Am Tourism training. It's like the Richmond Region Tourism Board. If anyone here like lives in Richmond, I highly suggest taking this. It's a free training, but you learn all about tourism in Richmond, and you also get like 30 free passes to do fun things around here. But one thing that I learned was that sports tourism is huge here. It's like the fastest growing segment of tourism. And as like a concert girly, that had never really, I wasn't really thinking of sports in that way, and now I am. But there's a lot of folks coming into town, like families coming in for soccer tournaments or baseball, or there's lots of sports things happening around Richmond.
Right.
So there's definitely a need for those short-term rentals. Now, we can discuss the regulations if you want. They are a little tougher. You can't be in a residential area if you want to rent out a full unit. But you can have, I think, 1/3 of the units in a multifamily building in a non-residential area can get short-term rental permits. Or what I love is it's very friendly for home sharing in Richmond. So if you have a house with an ADU or a guest house or a guest suite or a duplex, you could live in one side of the duplex and rent out the other side as a short-term rental. You could get a permit for that as long as you're living on the lot. There's a lot of that. Like there's a lot of those English basements and those carriage houses in Richmond that are perfect for that.
And that's what you mean, like an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, right? So that would be some other smaller unit on the same lot, on the same property.
Yeah.
Like it could be a really glorified shed, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Like-
and now in Richmond, I think actually in Virginia in general, it's legal by right, so long as you have the space for it and it meets certain criteria to have an ADU on your property, which is super cool. So we're going to be seeing a lot more ADUs pop up in the near future.
Yeah, it's a way to, one, provide that unique experience, but two, monetize your property a little bit more if you need to. And then I think with the, I could be wrong, but like a single family residence, you can Airbnb that, right? There's some requirement that you live there a half a year or something like that's your actual residence. So if someone is traveling for 6 months out of the year, they could have a permit and legally rent that, assuming they have the permitting and everything in place, but that is their primary residence where they're probably receiving mail and things like that,
Exactly,
right?
yeah. You have to just prove that it's your primary residence. So you have to show them different pieces of, you know, mail they're coming, or your driver's license or tax documents that show that that's your primary residence. That's what I did for a little bit with my house in Churchill. It was my primary residence, but I rented it out for half the year when I wasn't there.
We wouldn't necessarily support this, but there's thousands of short-term rentals in Richmond, and there's only a handful of permitted ones, right?
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't say like just do it anyway. I would say, you know, do it right. If you're going to do something to make money, treat it like a business, and you got to do it the right way. You got to be able to sleep at night and have the right documents in place. But I think if they can learn how to make money on it, they'll get more lenient on it, I think. Like if they can learn how to regulate it and keep the density where it needs to be and keep people happy, but also learn how to make money on it, I think they're probably going to end up loosening the restrictions a little bit. Because I know they were thinking about getting rid of the, you know, you have to live here for half the year. Like I think they were really close to getting rid of that.
There was a lot of debate about that. You know, I understand. There's a big community in the fan of some older folks that have been there for a very, very long time.
Right.
And I understand where they're coming from. They're saying that they're losing their community and like all their neighbors are turning into just short-term rentals. They can't get to know them. And so like I definitely feel for them, and I understand that. A lot of them are retired and have the time to come to these hearings and be very vocal about it. So I think that Richmond kind of wanted to, you know, make them happy and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. Like every city needs different things. And we have seen, unfortunately, in very big cities like New York, that if you don't have any regulations, it can get really wild.
Right.
It's not Airbnb's fault, but it can create more unaffordable housing, unfortunately. So
I think it's
that's a whole conversation.
Yeah.